A white neighbor fatally stabs black grandfather 16 times. Put up the picture full mass. Charles Davis on the left was fatally stabbed by his neighbor, Jerry Gelpi on the right, a suburban New Orleans man who ambushed his neighbor and stabbed him at least 16 times, feigned mental illness in the hopes of raising an insanity defense, saying he was a, quote, son of God and needed to, quote, kill a demon. Jerry Gelpi, 42, was convicted of murder on October 9th after his ruse fell apart in the face of overwhelming evidence. Mr. Gelpi, you're going where you deserve to be, according to the 24th Judicial Circuit Court Judge, Frank Brindisi. He told him while handing down a life sentence for first-degree murder without parole. Quote, you accused this man of being a demon. You were the only demon that day, the judge said. Gelpi, who authorities say had a history of branding knives and faking mental illness, was also fined $100,000. I'm going to give you the background. February 8th, 2021. Charles Davis was recovering from a severe bout with COVID-19 and was in a weakened state, having lost 75 pounds after 3 months in the hospital. When Gelpi entered his Jefferson, Louisiana apartment with a knife. The 68-year-old was attacked at the entrance of his bathroom, and though there are signs of a struggle, the bathroom sink was knocked off the wall. The grandfather of 5 succumbed to his injuries, which included defensive stab wounds on his hands and multiple stab wounds to his head and neck. When texts went unanswered, his concerned daughter checked on him the next morning and made a horrifying discovery. She found his body curled in a fetal position in the bathroom, and his wallet was missing. Gelpi, the neighbor, who lived in the same apartment building, initially denied any involvement in the murder, claiming he had never stepped foot inside of Davis's home. The Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office said in an official statement, but the story quickly unraveled when surveillance video linked him to the apartment. Now scrambling, he concocted a story that Davis, who needed auxiliary oxygen to breathe, was a big partier and a heavy drinker. Neighbors countered his claims, saying Davis was quiet and did not have many visitors, reported the New Orleans Advocate. Gelpi then took a different tack, saying a local homeless man committed the murder. So he blamed somebody else. Investigators, however, uncovered that a mountain of evidence pointed directly to the neighbor, Gelpi. There's more. So after looking into his background, detectives discovered he had a troubling history with none other than knives, okay? This was dating back to 2013. He was caught shoplifting and threatened the officer who detained him. He was also arrested for attempting to stab 2 men at a Walmart in 2020 after an argument, but they still need a stronger case to obtain a search warrant. The DNA evidence was their smoking gun. DNA found under Davis's fingernails and on the kitchen faucet came back to match the neighbor. Police found a trail of blood leading to the kitchen and believe that's where Gelpi tried to wash the blood off his hands and the knife, which he later tossed in the Mississippi River. Now, before I continue, you have a string of criminal actions between 2013 until today. Many of those criminal actions involve knives. He also showed off his knives. He bragged about his knives, and he was extremely proud of his knives. There's more. A search of his apartment turned up 5 tactical knives, along with a damning history on his own computer browser, showing he had researched knife fighting, how to stab people in their vital organs as well, prosecutors said. Unbelievably, when police arrived at the apartment, building to arrest Gelpi, he rode up on his bike carrying what? A knife. With no way to deny his involvement, Gelpi pivoted to a defense of not guilty by reason of insanity. At trial, he testified that he couldn't control himself, and he was driven to kill because David was the strongest demon in my experience, prosecutor said. He pointed to detectives seated in the courtroom and said they were demons, according to the prosecutors. Insanity is difficult to prove, which is why less than 1% of defendants' criminal cases choose the plea. Now, this is one of the mistakes individuals will make when they do an insanity plea. They will attempt to just say they were out of their minds because they believed an individual was a demon. Now, according to the basic statutory rules as it relates to insanity defenses, the rule is basically, okay, did you know that what you did was wrong, immoral, unethical, illegal? And you look at pre and post behavior to determine that as part of the analysis. So if you attempted to cover your tracks, well, that's evidence of a guilty conscience, meaning you were aware that what you did was wrong. If you lied to the authorities about it, that means you are aware that what you did was wrong. If you calculated multiple stories in order to avoid being captured by the judicial system for the crime, well, that's once again evidence that you were aware it was wrong. All right, and that's just one of the tests. And only 26% of those 1% are successful. Despite such low odds, it turns out that Gelpi had tried this before. It's not his first time. He faked a mental illness so that he could be discharged from the Navy in 2004, according to prosecutors, and bragged to an acquaintance that he lied to a judge about a substance abuse problem to receive leniency in a robbery case. The jury returned a verdict within 24 minutes. They found him guilty of murder in the first degree and guilty of obstruction of justice for eliminating evidence. The defense tried to overturn the verdict and requested a new trial, but the judge rejected the motions. 4 of Davis's family members shared their victim impact statements, including his daughter, who spoke of her anguish over not being able to celebrate her upcoming birthday with her father. Quote, "Knowing that I can never get that phone call again is heartbreaking," she testified, according to prosecutors. Davis's sister told the court, "I would never get a chance to hug him, to speak with him, to tell him how much I love him, or just to hear him say, 'Sis, you all right?'" End quote. You got to think about the sadness and the irony at the same time. He was in the hospital battling for his life for 3 months. Lost a significant amount of weight. He's in a weakened position. He comes home because he's strong enough to survive. In his weakened state, his cowardly neighbor decides to take that opportunity to kill him. Prayers and positive thoughts with the family as they endure this. Washington, thoughts here?
Obviously, echo your sentiments of thoughts with the family. This is a sickening event. It's just good to see that justice in this case was actually able to prevail, right? Actually able to get this guy and, lock him up for the crimes he committed. Because, it's not hard to see a scenario where this guy would have actually gotten away with this and claimed insanity. And they're just like, you know what? You don't need to go to regular prison with the rest of the, cold-blooded murderers. You get to go to a mental institution, a lot cushier, a lot safer, all of those things. My heart just goes out to the family. This is just an obviously senseless, hateful crime. And the idea that a defenseless older man recovering from illness, man, would be attacked like this in his own home. It's everybody's worst nightmare. So I just couldn't wish this on anybody.
Yeah. And it looks like, he tried the insanity defense because him lying to authorities and the judicial system prior benefited him.